was that all coaches in USA Hockey are mandated to wear helmets, right? This stupid rule because it's a rule that's unenforced. And it's basically unenforceable because nobody, like if Mike Benelli goes into a rink and says, hey, that coach, and in USA Hockey, it's an automatic 30-day suspension. Practices and games. You're on the ice. You don't have a helmet on, 30 days. I've actually never met a coach that's been suspended. Hal, maybe you have in Minnesota, but where I am in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Long Island, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, I've never seen a coach been suspended for 30 days for not having a helmet on. So those are like to me, that's a rule that should just be take the rule out because it's not enforced anyway. So why add layers of anxiety for everyone? And it's the same thing I think when mandating ice time. Let's educate parents and coaches, mentor them better. It's harder, no doubt about it. But I don't know. I just think reward the organizations that want to build these type of organizations and not punish, but don't support the organizations that don't. That's just my feeling on it. Oh, you're on mute, Wally.
I just want to say, I'm going to ask, I haven't seen a minor hockey coach at a practice in Canada without a helmet.
Yeah, and you're the hockey the leading hockey nation in the world. So how is it that like I look at I haven't been in a rink.
I'll tell you why it happened because initially, and Rick, you can tell the story. It was one of your coaches. So I'm going to ask Rick to share this. This is not a good memory to bring up, but this is where the rule became mandated and the rink attendants were in charge of reinforcing it. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, it'd be about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago now. I don't remember the exact year, but we had an accident on ice in practice where an assistant coach was submarined from behind by someone who was sliding, lost control, lost his wheels, and he went ass over tea kettle and pummeled his head into the ice and survived for a couple of weeks before he succumbed to the injury. And that was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back in this country. It had happened in Medicine Hat a couple of weeks previous with a less dire result, but it was just becoming too frequent an occurrence that it was mandated, and as I believe Wally said, the rink attendants enforce that. It's not even a minor hockey thing. It's a regulation. If you're on the ice, you need to have a hat on.
Well, Rick, I want to mention for Hal and Mike, it was being implemented right now in minor hockey. It's accepted. But when you go to Hockey Canada's U18 camps and junior camps and women's camps, nobody wears a helmet.
That's leadership, Wally.
Yeah. But I'm just saying here, I attended what do they call it when you observe a HP3 clinic or HP highest level clinic run by Hockey Canada, and they brought in all the best skill coaches and all the highest level coaches for this clinic, and they went on the ice with the skill coaches, and the skills coaches didn't have helmets, and the players. Pardon me, the skills coaches didn't have helmets. And the coaches that were there didn't have helmets. And I'm on the sideline, and Mike Barra, who was overseeing this as sort of the director, I said, "Where are the helmets?" And blah, 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 blah. He just babbled back and forth, and he said, "You better talk to Corey. Corey is the next in command." And I said, "I will." And I did talk to Corey, but the ability to say, "Hey, you want to coach? You wear a helmet." We'll find somebody that's willing to wear a helmet if they want to coach at this level. That's how important your life is. Vanity is not.
Hey, we're all different, of course, politically, but in a country where we're fortunate enough to have public health care where, it's not perfect by any stretch, but basically I am paying for Rick's injury. If Rick chooses not to wear a helmet and gets injured on the ice, if you want health care, you need to have a helmet on. Otherwise, anyway, that's just a sort of sidebar, but people think it's free choice, but I'm paying for your health care. It's the same as seat belts and a lot of other things, but
And the seatbelt idea is one that entered my mind, Tim. It's exactly that. It's the same as seat belts. It took a while for it to happen, but hell, and then we'll go to Rick again.
So this is an interesting topic for me, and Michael, you'll enjoy this this background on the helmets on coaches in the United States. That started here in Minnesota when I was a director of the safety committee for Minnesota hockey, and we tried for 3 years to mandate helmets on coaches because the leadership wanted it. And so I actually it was a self-reporting program of injuries, not including coach injuries, but player injuries, because we were trying to figure out where all the injuries were, what levels they were at, and what kind of injuries. And we had a couple medical people on this committee, and people self-reported from 3 districts in Minnesota. And then we had a nurse follow up on what the outcomes were. But as part of this, we discovered that in November, December, and January, every 6 days, a coach went down, hit his head, and had to go to the hospital. Every 6 days. And we've lost in Minnesota since 2000, probably 5 coaches have died. And while in the middle of doing this program, we had a coach go down. He's coaching his 8-year-old son. Got same story as yours, Rick. He got wiped out from behind. He went down, no helmet, because coaches didn't wear helmets on. And he got airlifted to, the trauma center downtown Minneapolis, and they cut his skull open, and he survived. But his wife reached out to me because she knew we were trying to collect this data, and I invited her to the winter meeting of Minnesota hockey, which was like 10 days later. And she came with photos of her husband, shaved head, the scar like this on the other side, and started to tell the story of what this is potentially going to mean for their family. And almost everybody was in tears, or all pretty close to it. And the board and I wasn't even a voting member of the board, and the board took a break and they came back. And this was in January in probably 2008 or something like that. They came back and said, as of February 1, all coaches have to wear a helmet on ice. And boy, did my email lit up for 2 years about this with hate email from coaches. But we did that, and a month later, the Atlantic District, maybe Michael, or the Florida, whatever district that is, they also implemented it right away. During this whole process, USA Hockey wanted to do it, but they got so much pushback that they were afraid to do it. But then when Minnesota did it, that was in June of that, at the annual Congress, that they mandated for coaches across the United States. You're right, enforcement's an issue. But the other thing is the only way that USA Hockey would do it is that the National Training and Development Program and the junior coaches, because they are professionals, they got exempted from wearing helmets on the ice. And then I tried to get the National High School Federation to go down that road. Because I know a couple high school coaches have gotten hurt badly, head injuries, and they don't want anything to do with it. But my point is, for whatever a helmet costs, $125, it's the cheapest insurance policy to save your life that you could ever buy. And I see guys occasionally, and I just call their district director and say, hey, you got a coach out here with no helmet, or they don't buckle them. And now and have that buckled. The helmet leaves your head before your head hits the ice. And we did some research on it. If you get knocked down from behind, your head's going 30 miles an hour when it hits the ice. You know what your car does when it hits something? 30 miles an hour. So I had 3 concussions where my helmet got knocked off, one in high school, one in college. And I got knocked out the first time. And so I kind of know what it feels like. And so I actually, I'm pretty lucky I didn't get hurt. So Mike, that's the backstory on the whole thing. So if somebody's bitching about it, tell them to email me. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done for hockey in this country. And I know Canada had started it in 1 or 2 provinces, and then Canada joined in at the same time and made it a net. But enforcement's a problem for sure. And that's my story.
Who had their hand up next? But I'm guessing Rick, then
I think it was Tom.
Mike, and I'm
It was
not
Tom.
sure. Who was it, Tim?
I think it was
Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, along with this subject, I asked, we had this drill where you put the puck on the other side and the team jump off the bench and they go opposite directions, race for the puck. And one of my assistant coaches was doing it, and I kind of asked her not to. And there's a guy named Dale I play hockey with. And in the Alberta Junior, what happened is they're having the bag skate at the end, and a lot of guys took their helmet off, put it on the net. So the coach had, the big figure 8 around the ice. And when you blow the whistle, everybody goes hard as they can. Well, Dale, they went as hard as they can. He collided with his best friend. And he whacked the back of his head, and he ended up dying. And it's still affecting Dale now. And, in those days, nobody really knew counseling or anything. Said the only thing he heard is his dad said, can't you keep your damn head up? And so, you hit the back of your head. About 2 years ago, this guy was going the wrong way. And that's one of the worst things that can happen in hockey. Guys turn their back on the play and you're flowing with the play. And he ran into me and I hit the back of my head. It broke my helmet. I didn't get knocked out or anything, but I didn't feel very well. And boy, if I didn't have a helmet on then, I'm sure I would have cracked my skull. So, and helmets weren't even mandated till I was 17. And I remember the referees refused to wear helmets in Calgary. And so the next year they made it that the refs would be suspended. So it was kind of option. So the last play of the season, we took off our helmets. I was playing juvenile, took off our helmets, and 10 seconds left in the game, we were getting knocked out of the playoffs. So I golfed the puck. I put my stick way back with the 2 hands together to golf it. Well, my best friend skating behind me, I hit him on top of the head with my stick, and he had to go get 5 or 6 stitches. So anyways, those are my stories that I think helmets are pretty important.
Who's next, Tim?
I think Rick, then Mike. Hey, we can talk mouth guards too if you want another sidebar, but that's another topic.
Get rid of those damn things. Honest to God.
Okay, Mike.
I'm just going to chime in real quick. I didn't want this to go to a helmet police thing. I just my whole point was I just don't understand why you wouldn't wear a helmet, but it's okay. I get it. You want to wear your toque and look good out there and wear your branded, hat. You look good, but I think it just goes to the mandated part, right? Like I know where I am in the East Coast, it's mandated. But if there's no enforcement, then there is no mandate. And frankly, if a guy, I think it's so sad to Rick's story. Like, I mean, obviously this person's family and the person tying themselves is sad enough. But imagine the trauma these kids watching this person bleed out on the ice, basically, right? And I get videos, and down here, everybody knows I'm a little crazy with the helmets, and the buckle is a big thing for me too. I'm like, well, don't even have the helmet on then if it's gonna pop over your head anyway. Or the guys wearing, like, they get away with not really wearing a real helmet anymore. They want to wear the old Jofas because they have a helmet on, but it's really not protecting them. But my point was like I've seen so much videos of people head bouncing off the ice, and the only people and then the people that really advocate for helmets are the ones that almost that have the helmets that cracked and got hit from behind. And now in our world of station-based practices and getting 60 or 70 little 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds on the ice, it even becomes more important because you're the best player in the world, you don't know where things are, you can't determine where things are coming from. Like I know when I do my clinics, we have very distinct teaching points about where you stand in a station-based practice, having your butt on the boards, and when you bring kids in, you don't have them, you don't come to center ice, little things like that. But again, that's more education and mentorship than mandating. And when you mandate it after somebody bounces their head off the ice, I guess it's too late for that person, right? But it's just I hate having a lot of rules and regulations and mandates and that don't get enforced anyway. I think that just causes more problems than it helps.
Mike, before we go to Rick, I'm just saying that why in Canada does everybody wear a helmet? And the mandate over time, no. If you said, well, if they dropped that rule in Canada, there would be an outcry.
Like Matt, yeah, right.
So, Rick, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add that the incident with Ron didn't happen in the meat of the practice where there was a lot of high intensity activity going on. This was right at the start of practice when players were just skating around, getting their legs under them. No vigorous activity was going on. Ron was face to face with another coach having a conversation, and this thing just happened behind him. So, the idea that I stay out of the way when the drills are going on and I have my butt to the boards or whatever, it can happen at the most unexpected time. And it only takes one incident and it's fatal. It makes it hard to understand why people would resist that, Mike. And I agree with you. If you're not going to have any enforcement, then don't have the rule. And too many associations are afraid, or they use the excuse that, well, then, we don't have anybody that wants to coach. They want to have some freedoms. And we've run into that before, not in the helmet issue, but in numerous other things. This Newfoundland policy, I'm sure, will run into some of the same pushbacks.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's the same thing. How when we went through the cross ice program, like when we mandated 8U cross ice, every single organization like, oh, our kids are going to quit. They're never going to do it. I'm like, okay, they're not going to play hockey anymore because they're playing cross ice. And then guess what happened? They all play cross ice. So it's one of those things where, Wally, and I don't know, it's an interesting question. Like, is it just I think what Canada's done right is it put the onus on the associations and the building supervisors to be the ones that enforce this, not your peers, not the other coach. It's the person that closes the engine, the Zamboni doors and said, "Hey, you two guys, what are you doing out here with a helmet? You got to get off the ice." Like it creates a different narrative instead of me saying, "Hey, Wally, I need you to wear a helmet." Mike, I played Division I hockey. I don't like wearing a helmet. It really affects the way I see the ice, and I like to be able to be out there and feel like I'm out there with the kids. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'll always come back. My quick helmet story. I had John Tonelli and Tommy Laidlaw doing a clinic with me, and John's had been coaching youth hockey for a number of years, understood that, although he didn't wear a helmet in his practices, I said, hey, this is a USA Hockey Clinic. I'm going to be taking a lot of social media pictures. It'd be great if you could put a helmet on. It's going to look good. I'm going to take nice pictures of you with the kids, and it's going to be great. So, John went to his bag, no problem, helmet on the ice. Tommy Laidlaw, hey, Tommy, I need you to wear a helmet. I didn't wear a helmet. I goes, you know what, Mike? You want me to wear a helmet? You put it on my head. And I didn't put it on his head. But I'm just saying, when you get guys like, I think it's just, and he did eventually put a helmet on for me. But I think it's just, it all depends on where the person's background is and where they're from. I know Ron Duguay comes out with us with the Junior Rangers all the time. He will not wear a helmet. He will not put it on his head. And I think Tim made a little point there, because I get on the USA Hockey guys all the time when I see their social media posts. If your 18U coaches are going to be on the ice without helmets, and you're gonna go out there and tout them as non-professional coaches, that's setting a pretty bad example, in my opinion. If you're going to mandate it for all the other non-professional coaches, then set a great example. Throw a helmet on, be a leader, and suck it up. Put a nice brand new USA Hockey sticker on that helmet, and everyone will love it. Sell some advertising on the coaching helmets. They'll love it. Make some money.
Mike, I just wanted to make the point as you talk, thinking of this. Who arranged to have those two come out to help you?
Well, me.
Okay, and when you're talking to Newfoundland, at any branch, they hire coaches. You invite people to come out for a Hockey USA event. So before you take them, before you agree to it, the condition is you need a player, an former NHLer, that will come out and honor that and avoid the sensitivity of it. So that's what I'm saying when you say, well, gee, you can't mandate it. The leadership group wants it. When an association interviews coaches about ice allocation, they hire them with the understanding of the policy, or they don't hire them to deal with them during the season. And the solution that's been mentioned, I think Tim did before, was having an ethical director in an association, but also having an age-level supervisor that supervises the allocation of ice time.
Yep.
And it can be a parent on each team designated by the board, because parents are afraid to speak up. Do you think they like their kid not playing? They're afraid to speak up because nobody speaks up. So if the leadership doesn't stand up like Newfoundland has, and the leadership below them at the association level, they're the ones that mandate the policy through the process. We have these standards. If you can't abide by them, there's no excuse that, well, we can't get coaches, because the people that will volunteer, they'll wear a helmet. Might not get an NHL coach or an ex-player, but I think over time this is going to change. It takes time. I mean, we've been talking about this for 30 years.
Yeah.
Hal, go ahead.
Well, not to beat the dead horse, but in Minnesota, your local association can be fined $500 if the district's notified you've got coaches on the ice without helmets. And so they kind of run it that way. Now, how often it happens, I don't know, because I'm not on the board anymore and that kind of stuff. But I look at it from this point of view. This is a leadership issue. And coaches are supposed to wear helmets. Players are supposed to wear mouth guards, but they don't. And for many years as a coach, the refs were all over mouth guards, because that's an easy one, right? Well, now they don't care anymore, because everybody knows that if you're wearing a face mask, the mouth guard is a useless piece of equipment. It might be even a bad piece of equipment. And I've been through all this whole stuff. It doesn't prevent concussions any more than the stop patch on the back of the jersey and a bucket jersey every year prevents kids from hitting from behind. And so, Michael, we have all these rules that we don't enforce. And then what does that message go to the kids? What does that go to the players? The rules are a suggestion, not hard and fast. So I don't know. I mean, I wear a helmet because I've been knocked out a couple times, so that's just to save me. And I tell coaches, you go to practice with your kids. Are you planning on going home? Or do you want to go to the hospital in an ambulance and maybe never come home? It's a pretty easy decision if you just lay it out for them. But I know we've had problems here too. So anyways, I think Tim was going to take issue with my mouth guard thing.
Well, I was, but the truth is there's science on both sides.
Yeah.
That it can be helpful in terms of preventing, maybe not preventing concussion, but severity. Not so much for banging your head, but for blows to the side or the front or whatever. I have a great mouth guard story, but I won't bore you with it at this time. Basically, saved me in a lot of ways, a couple of times.
Tom, are the old timers wearing mouth guards?
No,
No way.
a lot of guys do. I'll tell you. I got to tell you a story because it's a pretty funny story. This one guy from Flin Flon, and he got banned, like blackballed in the NHL. He was Brandon's best player, and he went and played at Michigan Tech, and they won a national, and he was All-American, all this kind of stuff. So, anyways, we're playing, and a guy puts a stick in front of him on a hard pass. It goes up into his face.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of checks his mouth a little bit, goes to the bench, and he plays the rest of the game. And so we go in the dressing room, and he goes and gets a beer, hands a beer, pays for everybody. Then he takes his mouth guard out, and his teeth are in the mouth guard. You gotta remember, this guy's from Flin Flon, eh? His teeth are in the mouth guard. And then he takes a few more beer, and he goes to see his friend, a dentist. And what happened is, I think it cost him about $10,000. And because he had a half shield and a mouth guard, the insurance that we all have paid about $2,500 of it. But anyways, I don't know if he would have saved any more teeth with a mouth guard, but at least it held him there for a while.
Tom, a good story, but you said one word, insurance. And back in the day, and I brought this up, Canadian Amateur Hockey Association contacted Dave King and myself to create a module on ethical coaching because insurance rates were going up. That's the reason. Cost. Costing them too much money. And it hasn't been implemented. And there's so many other factors to them. The mission statement exercise just being a talking point, a foundational, the roots of what you're doing, why you're doing it, for the rationale, which is obvious to us, isn't obvious to everyone. So it's a matter of bringing the pieces together and keep them banging on the door. Mike, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I got to run, but I do like what Hockey Nova Scotia's done. I mean, I do like the fact that they're addressing the issue, right, and they're informing their coaches and they're giving. I mean, I just think it's hard. I mean, I'd love to see how they actually enforce it and make sure parents don't, take advantage of it with the, the stopwatches and the live barn and, this person was out every single time. I just think it comes back to mentorship and education and just really working on coaches that listen. in the long term, it's going to be great that this kid got an opportunity to be on the ice with a minute left in the game, and maybe you don't win it, and maybe you lose it, and maybe but this is I mean, if we can just educate people that it's the educational piece that's more important than anything else. Again, I'm not talking about major, junior, or college, or pro, and where people are going to lose their jobs. I'm talking about, just, it's establishing these standards in youth hockey organizations so that when I'm a parent and I go there, maybe I see that these are things we stand for and these are things we want to accomplish. And I would hope that draws more people to your organization, and thus you make more money and you have more success and you win more championships. I just think it's and you've said it a number of times, Wally. I mean, even in your relationship with Hockey Canada, it just takes a lifetime, right, of commitment to try to make these changes. And I don't know. I just love working with the coaches that want to make those changes and want to make the difference and want to take these recommendations. That's the reason I'm on this call every week, is that I love being able to take these little pieces of recommendations and bring them on to the people that want them, not mandating them to people that don't. But no, I think it's great. Like I said, I like the efforts there, and it'll be interesting to see and watch them enforce it in real time.
Well, I'm going to follow up with, you mentioned Hockey Nova Scotia. It's actually Hockey Newfoundland.
Oh, Newfoundland, sorry. Yeah.
But the Hockey
It's
Nova
all
Scotia,
Canada to me up there. Don't worry about it.
but the key to the communication is that province, its leadership group has taken the lead. And I'm going to follow up to find out how they are able to enforce it. I think that's absolutely critical. And I think what you say is absolutely mentorship's required. There's no doubt about it. But all of these things, when you add them all up, presented at the right time and the right way, can provide a more viable opportunity for success. The accountability of ice allocation of ice time and tracking that. The simple fact is, if everybody feels valued, you're going to have a emotional energy with that group and a team to be more successful. And those people that win championships more often than not do that. So that's sort of the foundation of everything. But
I agree. I'm gonna jump too. Tom, don't tell any more mouth guard stories until next week. But I'm gonna. I don't want to miss those.
okay,
and Flin Flon. I've always thought that was a fake place, but I guess.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. I was hoping we could get Peter on because he's working with an association.
Yeah.
And my imagination, as with you, is who is the executive member of an association, and what would his take on this? Having that conversation, it's a stepping point to see how they respond to it. Oh, it's really good, but you know.
Hey, so listen, if you want to re-engage this formally next Thursday.
Yeah.
Where I can't do next Thursday, but at a future date, I definitely would invite some program presidents on. That would I think would be open to debate. And I think it would be an interesting, and I don't think they'd mind being on like a live show. You know what I mean? Like where somebody's judging them. But it would be interesting. I agree with you.
No, well, I think you set up a group of 2 or 3 like-minded people like that.
Yeah.
We'll provide them with the literature to look at before the meeting, and we'll talk to them about why it will work, why it won't work. And we're going to follow up with myself in the up and coming season. The province is actually initiating it and how they're going to implement it. So it's a great initiative, Mike. So I'll leave it with you. When you get people ready together, I think we can do it now, and I think we'll do it again. But if I get a hold of Hockey Newfoundland people, I know the Hockey Nova Scotia is excited about their experimenting with it.